One of the main causes of the recent college admissions fraud has been the over-reliance on standardized tests like the SAT and ACT, putting more pressure on high school students. Although they can be a good measure for comparison, the SAT and ACT contain financial and racial bias that can make it an unfair judge of future success in college. The SAT was created in 1926, but the name and scoring have changed several times since then. The SAT was created in an attempt to standardize college admission procedures and increase access to higher education. And by 1961, the SAT was administered to over 800,000 students. University of Iowa professor Everett Franklin Lindquist launched the ACT test in 1959 and was originally made as a competitor to the SAT. While the ACT was created in response to changing patterns in college attendance in the United States and desire for an exam that would more accurately judge students' ability to succeed in college and universities. In 2011, the number of ACT test takers surpassed the number of SAT test takers. Many colleges have decided to go test optional, including Gettysburg College, the University of Chicago, Seton Hall College, Bowdoin College, Wake Forest University, and George Washington University, and many more. In the next video, Lori Kohler from George Washington University talks about the positive effects of becoming test optional.
Lori Kohler says test optional was part of a plan to help improve diversity because studies have revealed first-generation college-goers, as well as minority and female students, are more likely to apply if they don't have to provide standardized test scores.
We did see a more than 28% increase in our applications, but what was striking was the numbers of first-generation students, of underrepresented multicultural students who submitted applications, nearly 1,100 more in each of those populations.
One cause that may have led to the fraud in college admissions is that high schools have become overly geared towards college admissions, meaning that high school students are often pressured to apply to top colleges and get into prestigious universities. College admissions officers have been found to use their gut feeling instead of technology to test for plagiarism and other unreliable factors on applications. This also leads to bias because college admissions officers are less likely to have a gut feeling about applications from more prestigious high schools. This leads to higher chances of bias and fraud in the college admissions process because administration is more likely to doubt homeschoolers, rural and inner-city school students because they may be the first from their school to apply to Ivy League colleges or other prestigious universities.
Felicity Huffman pleads guilty to paying $15,000 to have someone correct the answers on her daughter's SAT test. Felicity Huffman wrote in a statement that she accepted full responsibility for her actions and will accept the consequences.
Lachlan and her husband, the fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, are accused of paying $500,000 in bribes to get their daughters admitted into the University of Southern California as crew team recruits, even though they were not competitive rowers.
Many college coaches are also a part of the scandal, including the sailing coach at Stanford, the UCLA men's soccer coach, the Wake Forest women's volleyball coach, the men's tennis coach at the University of Texas, and the head tennis coach at Georgetown University. After thorough research, it has shown that William Singer is the central figure in all of the college admissions cheating scandals. He pleaded guilty to 4 charges in federal court in March. He admitted to arranging for students to take their SAT or ACT exams at specific sites in Houston or Los Angeles, where he had bribed test administrators. These administrators would correct some of their answers afterward to make sure the scores came out exactly how they wanted them to. He also bribed college coaches to certify that students had been recruited for certain schools' team sports. He also falsified ethnicities and other biographical details.
It's a sham that strikes at the core of the college admissions process at universities across the country.
Singer lived in this house in Newport Beach and ran the Key Foundation, whose mission, according to its website, is to provide guidance, encouragement, and opportunity to disadvantaged students. But according to the indictment, it was the rich and famous who had the advantage.
Wealthy parents paid Singer about $25 million in total to guarantee their children's admission to elite schools.
Many allegedly made contributions to Singer's nonprofit called the Key Worldwide Foundation in return for getting their kids into schools. Tax records we obtained show Key Worldwide took in almost $4 million in 2016.
Recently this year in May, the nonprofit group that administers the SAT announced they would be adding a part of the SAT score that factors in where you live and the crime level in your neighborhood using your zip code. This is called the adversity scores that were made to help kids apply into colleges that live in low-income families, including inner-city areas, rural areas, and military families. For the adversity scores, students are scored on a scale of 1 to 100 based on records like the U.S. Census and National Center for Educational Statistics. A score of 50 is average, and a score of above 50 indicates hardship. Adversity scores take students' background into consideration, but do not include race in order to avoid bias.
I think this tool is completely honest and says to students with less, we get that you have less, we're honest about that, but you can still achieve at a very high level, and tell students with a lot of privilege, hey, we recognize that about you too, and we will expect more from you.
Here's how it works.
However, there are also drawbacks to the adversity score. It still allows families with more money and more connections to manipulate the standards, like zip codes, to benefit themselves. The adversity score does not completely eliminate the ability for families to continue to corrupt the system, although it does help in some areas. As earlier discussed in the video, there are many benefits for universities going test optional. However, taking away the SAT and ACT eliminates a vital tool for comparison throughout college applications. Another solution could be a state-given and facilitated test, where everyone in the state, no matter public or private, and no matter what economic status, would take the SAT or ACT in a state facility similar to the MBA test for driving. This could eliminate the ability for families to pay for proctors or pay for students to take the test in a private facility.